Hi everyone, my name's Frances Hume and I'm the Development Officer at Interfaith Scotland.
Hi, and I'm Maureen Sire and I'm the Director of Interfaith Scotland.
So this morning we're going to be interviewing people from a number of different faith communities from all over Scotland who are involved in interfaith dialogue and activities across the communities from all different faiths and cultural backgrounds. We've got Interfaith Week coming up, Scottish Interfaith Week, and we're looking at the theme of connecting generations this year. So I thought I'd turn to Maureen now and ask you a little bit about how you came up with that theme and why you think it's important.
Well, Interfaith Scotland comes up with a theme for Scottish Interfaith Week every year. And this year was the year of young people. And I looked at what is it that the young people themselves are saying are really important themes for them. And they had 4 different themes, but the one that really stood out to me was the Connecting Generations theme. And I thought to myself, wow, that is such a great theme, particularly for Scottish Interfaith Week, because as Director of Interfaith Scotland, I often go into faith communities all over Scotland. And one of the things I've really noticed is just how well faith communities connect generations. It's just the bread and butter of what they do. It's natural to them. You know, whether you're going to a church service and they're in the worship are all different ages, or you visit the mosque and they've got the Quranic classes, or you know, you're visiting Baha'i centres, Buddhist centres, wherever you go. The young, the old, the middle-aged, the teenage, they're all there in the faith communities, just getting on with what they do. So that was one of the reasons I thought that's a great theme, that connecting generations. But also the Scottish Government this year have been looking at loneliness and isolation. I was thinking it's really good to look at how can people from all different generations, all different age groups, really connect with each other and start to explore how they can tackle this sense of loneliness and isolation that particularly, but not specifically, but particularly elderly people, you know, can experience. And it's whether it's young people, you know, children connecting with their grannies and granddads, or the teenage person going to visit the elderly neighbour across the road. Just, there's something about connecting all sorts of people from all sorts of different age ranges that perhaps helps tackle that sense of loneliness and isolation that some people in our communities are feeling. So I'm hoping that right across Scotland during Scottish Interfaith Week there'll be fantastic events that people from all ages will be able to attend and really enjoy that sense of I suppose a connection, for want of a better word. You know, it's really lovely. I mean, I'm probably edging towards the bracket of getting older, and I honestly just love it when I spend time with young people, whether it's my grandchildren or just the young people that I work with in Interfaith Scotland. It's a good thing. It's a good theme. And watch this space. Let's see how many events can be held right across Scotland that celebrate our connecting generations.
Brilliant, thank you Maureen. I'm looking forward to it very much as well. And yeah, looking forward now to interviewing some people from all different faiths across the country, across the community. So our first guest today, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Carol Snedden. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Great, and Carol, you've travelled a bit to get here today.
Yeah, I live in Prestonpans, so I've taken several trains to get here.
Fantastic, well thank you for coming. So I guess we should kick off with interfaith dialogue and why it's so important to you.
Okay, well I think it's really important because it promotes understanding and it educates people about different faiths, and especially nowadays when there's often a bit of fear around religion and all that can go with that. I think that interfaith events and initiatives really promote that level of understanding, and also people involved in them can cooperate and can do more good if they unite and work together. And also we can, our voices are louder when we cooperate and join together and speak up for religious freedom and that kind of thing nowadays.
Fantastic, thank you. And in terms of Interfaith Week, where do you see that falling within all of that for you?
For me, that's important because it gives me a bit of a focus. helps me have a kind of deadline to organise something for. It's very easy in our busy lives to just keep thinking, I'll do something about interfaith and not get around to it. But if there's a week that's set, then it's much easier to actually get on and do something. And also I think having that focus raises the profile of interfaith initiatives throughout Scotland much more than it would if they were scattered throughout the year and maybe people didn't pay so much attention. So it's a good way to be seen and heard more, having a week.
Super. And so this year, 2018, we have the theme of connecting generations. Can you tell us anything about within your own faith community, different ways that people do that and how it's important and bringing in young people and all together?
Yeah. In my faith, families are essential, and so connecting generations is important for kind of two reasons within the family and in the wider community. We believe that the family unit is ordained of God, that it's central to our purpose here on this earth, and that we should do all that we can to strengthen our family relationships, including connecting the generations and spending time with our families. We believe families can be eternal, that it's not just until death do us part. And so we also do a lot of family history research, and not just the dates and the places and things, but stories, things that bring it to life, so we can really feel connected to our ancestors and get a sense of some of the family traditions we can keep alive and have that heritage and kind of draw strength from our ancestors that we've maybe never met, but that we can learn from. Also, outside of the family, kind of within the congregation or the community, we have a lot of social events where generations can mix. We have camps for the young people, which are led by older people, and they get a chance to mingle a lot and make friends within the generations. One of the things that's had a big impact on me as far as learning from other generations is our ministering program, where we each are assigned a companion, and then we go and visit 2 or 3 other people or families within our congregation. And as a student, I was assigned to visit with a much older lady. I think she was nearly 80, and we became really good friends, and you really get to understand the value that comes from connecting the generations, the wisdom and the experiences they have to share. And then as a young mother, I had 2 ladies visit me who had older children and who were able to help me and nurture me in the needs that I had as a young mother. And so for me, I've felt great benefit in learning from other generations and just having that strength come from people of different ages to myself.
Brilliant, great. Well, thank you very much, Carol. Lovely to speak to you. Thank you for coming all the way from Preston Pans to be with us today, and wish you all the best for the future and for Interfaith Week as well.
Thank you.
I'm here now with Amid Versace from the Scottish Allo-Bait Society. Welcome.
Hello.
Lovely
Thank you.
to see you. So I thought I'd kick off with just asking you what interfaith dialogue means to you and why you think it's something that's really important.
Well, do you know, interfaith is a blessing unto us, because for so long people have been totally detached. They've been on their own personal mission, and we've not really understood one another. So interfaith essentially means we can open up, share our common values, get to know each other, and rid ourselves of some of the ignorance that pervades, because there is a lot of it around, making assessments without knowing the other person's faith, making judgment. And what interfaith dialogue does is it eradicates that. And we're quite surprised at the commonality of humankind when this type of dialogue occurs. So I think it's a fantastic thing.
Brilliant. Super. And in terms of Interfaith Week, what does that mean for you? Do you find it a helpful concept?
Interfaith Week is a date in the diary. It's a time where, as opposed to leaving it to our own devices, we can set aside a time and come together and speak to one another in a relaxed manner, and put together meetings, dialogue, conventions, anything that we choose to do, we can put it into a date in the diary. I've grown up in Scotland as a Muslim, and I'm very fortunate. I've been in a country which is very adaptive to this type of thing. And I think the work of Interfaith Scotland plays a crucial part in this. The fact that you bring us all together, and I think that's important. So Interfaith Week is a time for us to open up and to remember that in that particular week there'll be events, occurrences that we can come together and get to know one another and move forward together. And I think we can become a model for others to follow by doing this.
Fantastic, I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's lovely, thank you. So the theme of Interfaith this year is connecting generations. Is there something particularly within your faith community that you work together to bring young and old together, or do working with young people? Anything you'd like to share with us about that?
Well, I represent the Scottish LLBet Society, and we predominantly affect the cause of Shia Islam. But our Islam is a form of inclusive Islam. All generations, all denominations are welcome. What we do is we try to encourage younger generations to come through using modern techniques. The old-fashioned way of preaching, I think, has now become outdated. I think standing on the pulpit, talking to folk and looking down is not the way forward. So what we tend to do is, a little bit what we're doing, is have open, expansive dialogue. And we use social media, very much so. And I think that's one way where we're attracting and not detaching from a new generation. And I also feel that the older generation can contribute a great deal to a younger generation by this method of discourse.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
Well, I would like to say that there are a great number of issues in society, and I feel that faith could alleviate a lot of the burdens of society. And I want to invite viewers of this to come in and listen to faith being projected in its truest form, and by inference, unburden yourself and be free of all the shackles of stress and anxiety that life can sometimes produce for us. So when you come into faith, you'll learn a great deal, and you'll be, I feel, a happier person for it.
Great, thank you. That's a lovely message to leave us with this morning. Thank you so much, Hamid, for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to welcome Sukhcharan Kaur, who's from the Sikh community here in Glasgow, and the organisation Sikhs in Scotland. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming today, Sukhcharan. Lovely to see you.
Great to be here.
Yeah, super. So we're talking a little bit this morning about interfaith dialogue and what it means to you and your community. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's very important because we have a society full of diverse and multicultural communities. Building relationships and other faiths is a huge part of who we are.
Great, brilliant. And within your community, your faith community, are they involved in some interfaith activities?
Yes, Interfaith Week is important because it's engaging with other people all over the world as well. The world attend to, and it's an opportunity for people to come together and learn from each other as well, get to know new people, build new relationships and friendships, and showcase our faith and culture we have in Glasgow too.
Brilliant. Yeah. Sounds looking forward to that. So the theme of Interfaith Week this year is connecting generations. So is your faith community involved in any particular ways with that?
Yes, it's important to connect generations together because we need to empower the youth to connect with their faith and roots so they can understand the essence of their faiths. It is equally important that older generations commit to embracing the ideas and energy of young people. It's by generations working together and understanding each other, the next generations of young people can build on the foundations and serve the community even more.
Brilliant, thank you. And do you have any examples within your own faith community, different activities of service that you have been engaged in?
Yeah, we feel it's important to engage with the Sikh faith and to connect generations, because young people are our future. We believe in connecting generations together through SEVA, which is community service, which is voluntary work as well, by showcasing Sikh heritage, promoting education classes, serving meals to the needy, and it's fundraising for charity. These are the activities that unite everyone together. It's and everybody in the Sikh faith as well. We see the best results in the community when generations work together, learn together, and serve together.
Brilliant, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in this morning and sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
Great,
Thank you, Francis.
Well, now I'd like to welcome John Mason, MSP for Glasgow Shettleston. It's wonderful to have you here this morning. Thanks so much for coming in to speak to us at Interfaith Scotland.
Thank you.
So first of all, I'd like to ask you a little bit about what interfaith dialogue means to you personally and in your working environment as well.
Well, first of all, I mean, faith generally means a lot to me, and my background's Christian faith. I've been in different churches, currently in a Baptist church. So, absolutely I'm committed to that faith. However, I think we need to concentrate and emphasise more what we have in common, because especially we're living in a very secular world these days, certainly in Scotland, but even more so in other countries. And we do have a lot of common, because if there's pressures against faith in general in society, then I think we can work together as faith groups to question and challenge and stand up to some of these secular forces. So I suppose that's my starting point.
Absolutely. And how does that translate into the work that you're engaging in?
Well, specifically in the Scottish Parliament, we have a cross-party group on freedom of religion or belief, and that is to emphasise that there should be, first of all, freedom for people to believe what they want, be that faith or humanism or some other belief, and also to change between them, because that has been quite a sticking point in a number of countries, that if a Muslim becomes a Christian, that can be difficult, or a Christian becomes an atheist, or some of these different things. Whereas I believe, and the group believes strongly, that people should have that kind of freedom. And partly it's just to get people talking to each other, and so that we understand better how the Muslims are doing in Burma, or different groups, the Baha'i and different groups around the world, Christians being persecuted in Muslim countries, things like that. And there's a lot of common ground, there's differences, but there's a lot of common ground.
I think it's important to mention as well that Scotland seems to me to be such a model for equalities, religion, race, and bringing people together in dialogue and that kind of mutual understanding.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of good things, at least on the surface and in the law, but the reality is we have some challenges here. I mean, the Jewish community are saying they've never had such a difficult time in Scotland, and we continue to have the issue of sectarianism, which was within the Christian faith, which I find extremely sad. But that is still there, and so I don't think, while accepting that there's good things happening, we don't want to pretend that we don't have problems.
I think, as you say, putting it within like legislation and
yes,
is
and it's
very
not the
important.
open persecution. I mean, Christian minorities in Pakistan are having a difficult time. Saudi Arabia, difficult for minorities, and especially, I mean, the top one is North Korea, where just continually no minority views are accepted whatsoever.
So it's important that work goes on. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That we talk to each other, and I think we're especially thinking between the generations. Obviously, younger people across the world think differently from older people. However, again, we have a lot in common. Older people need to learn the language of younger people, as well as across the faith. So there are a few challenges, a few gaps to bridge, but I'm a believer in bridging gaps.
Great. Is there anything in particular you want to share about your faith community, maybe the Baptist church or the Christian faith in general that's done?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, within the Christian faith, we obviously do have differences, and because of Europe has traditionally been predominantly Christian, the emphasis has been on the differences between the Christian groups. So we've got the main Protestant Catholic ones, we've got groups like myself, Baptists, which were Anabaptists, and we would emphasise the individual making a choice, not the family, not the nation, but the individual, and that's why we baptise believers rather than babies, and so on and so forth. So we need to concentrate that, but again, there's a lot in common, certainly amongst the Christian denominations, and again, we believe in a God, so do the Muslims, so do the Jews, so when we're being attacked by a secular society that frankly in many cases wants faith and religion right out of the way, then I think we can stand together and look out for each other and seek to say that in the public square there is a place for faith and religion.
Great, thank you. Anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
I could go on all day. I think that's probably
That's
okay.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you again, John, for coming in. It's lovely to have you here with us. Thanks
you.
very much. Great. So now I'd like to welcome Shani Newell. Shani is an elder in the Church of Scotland. So lovely to have you here today, Shani.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So we've got Interfaith Week coming up with the theme of connecting generations. And I wonder if you could start off telling us a little bit about what interfaith means to you.
Interfaith is something I'm absolutely passionate about, and I got involved. I went back to university and I did a theology degree with absolutely no interest whatsoever in interfaith. And during the course of the degree, I had to study other religions, and it opened up a whole new world to me, and a degree of shame as well that I hadn't had more natural curiosity before about other people's faiths, and it maybe is reflective of living in a bit of a bubble. And it also made me realise I myself was guilty of a lot of stuff that wasn't helpful, and I think during the course of my studies, it just opened up a whole new world, and new friendships, new adventures. It's been very exciting.
So in terms of Interfaith Week, which is coming up,
yes.
Are you involved in any way in Interfaith Week, and how does it sit for you in your life?
I'm going to be an ambassador, which is very exciting for Interfaith.
What does that mean?
Well, it just means going along to events and doing a bit of a blog about my experience at the events and what's going on, and so I'm looking forward to that. That will be great, and I will attend as much as I can, I think, during the Interfaith Week. And I've been before and thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to it this year.
Great. Yeah. It looks set to be a very vibrant week, activities all over the country,
Good.
You can find yourself spread far and wide, and it'll be lovely. We'll be getting lots of blogs in from different volunteers and to put on our website to tell the story of Interfaith Week. So
that will be great.
I hope you look forward to that, I'm sure. So the theme this year is connecting generations, and I was wondering if you had anything to say about that in terms of from your faith community perspective, and what the Church of Scotland or the Christian community is doing to bring different generations together.
Well, I know certainly for our church, it can be a struggle because quite often we are challenged with bringing children into Sunday school and youth work and that sort of thing, and I think it's a Scotland-wide problem, but I think it's absolutely essential, and it's something that the church has to work at, and an ongoing problem really. So I think it's very vital, and I think it's also good for people's mental health when you get the generations together. There's something that's very innately healthy about that, and important.
So in terms of you saying about the problem, do you mean in terms of getting young people involved?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Getting children and youth to come along. I think most especially the youth. They sort of tend to drift away. I think they're more happy to come along when they're younger, and then they often drift away at that stage, and it's very much a case of what your peers are doing, and but even at the young Sunday school age, it's a challenge. So it's lovely when you get everybody together in church.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if any thoughts on ways maybe to kind of overcoming that, or what ways the faith communities should be reaching out?
I suppose it's a bit of hard work and marketing as well, and I mean, I think it's often as well the parents maybe are just not as committed as in former generations. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's always been a problem to a certain extent. But yeah, no, I think there's sort of just a lot of thought will have to go into how you make it fun for the kids and how you attract them. Yeah.
And anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
just wishing you all the best with your Interfaith Week, because I think it's very valuable work, and it's great that's happening, and it's a fun week as well, just to say it's lovely meeting new people and meeting old friends as well. So I'm looking forward to it very much. Thank you, Frances.
Brilliant. Thank you as well. And I'm sure you're looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to it as well. And it'll be a
Lovely.
wonderful week.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks.
Cheers. So now we have our final speaker this morning. I'd love to introduce Brittany Rattel, who's from the Jewish community. So Brittany, can you tell me a little bit about what you do, what your day job is?
Yeah. So I am the Youth Programs Manager for the Scottish office of UJIA. This means that I run youth activities across Glasgow. It's ages largely 4 up to 18 that I work with. I go into schools and run activities there, such as lunch clubs or assemblies, and I do a lot of after-school programs as well, so youth clubs in the evenings and supporting existing youth programs in the community.
Fantastic. Super. You've got your work cut out then.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. So in terms of Interfaith, could you tell me a little bit about your engagement with that and why you think it's an important thing to be involved in?
Mm-hmm. So I've become involved with Interfaith Scotland through the Scottish Council of Jewish Communities. They're really the ones that connected me with the work that you guys do. But in my actual work role, I run religious assemblies at a lot of schools, and it's often, at one of the schools I work at, we have actually interfaith assemblies where we're given a topic, and then there's a speaker for the Muslim faith and for the Christian faith, and I'm for the Jewish faith, and we all give our religion's perspectives on that same topic, which is a really great layout. It's amazing to see all the similarities between what we're saying with our different religions.
You always find something new about some of the different faiths when you're doing it as well.
Yeah. So it's a great educational thing for us as the speakers, but obviously also for the students that are listening.
Brilliant. So we have Interfaith Week coming up soon. Are you engaged in that at all, your activities?
Yes. I mean, I'll be speaking at the launch of it.
Yeah.
And within the Jewish community, I know that there will be some events going on. I don't have anything particularly scheduled that is specifically for the youth, but I'm happy to be involved at the launch of it and looking forward to supporting the other events that will be happening.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I believe you'll be talking a little bit about young people and how you get young people more engaged in their faith communities with the theme of connecting generations. And also it's the year of young people in Scotland as well. So could you give me some thoughts that you would have on getting young people more involved and interested in their different faith communities?
Yeah, so I often joke that I'm always the token young person in the room when it comes to religious events. And it can be really hard to get young people involved. I think sometimes it's really easy to say this event, it's open to everyone, so it's up to the youth to show up. And I think it takes a little more effort, but it's a lot more rewarding, and you'll get a much higher return if you make things geared towards the youth. Have something specifically for them. You can't just hope they're gonna show up. You need to really go out there and make the effort. And sometimes it doesn't work, but you can't be discouraged by that. I think a lot of people will say, I've tried it before and the kids didn't show up, so I'm done. And unfortunately, it's one of those things you have to keep trying, and eventually you'll find events that work. I find that with students in their last couple years of high school, they're actually so keen to get involved with volunteering and to help out. So finding the spaces to allow them that opportunity, it's a great way for them to be involved, and then they also get to feel like they're contributing. They're not just showing up as a participant at an event, they're getting to be hands-on and help in their own community, so it gives them that ownership. And that really is the biggest way that our S4, S5, S6 students are involved in the Jewish community.
So encouraging them to get involved in something very practical, like volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, never doubt that young people can be leaders. They absolutely can. So give them those leadership opportunities. You might have to teach them a little bit. It's a little extra effort to give them the guidance they need, but it is so worth it to ensure that you have a future generations of leaders coming up. And a lot of times, they don't have opportunities to have leadership positions elsewhere. So if you can give it to them through your faith community, it's such an easy in, and it helps everyone.
And great for them for the future as well. But any other perhaps advice on in terms of actual events, like what would be attractive and interesting for young people and linking them in with older people as well?
It definitely just depends on what age group you're looking at. Like I said, volunteering opportunities. Sometimes young people need the hours for their Duke of Edinburgh or for their high school or for something else. So chances to volunteer are something they're very passionate about. I think if you get a little bit older to student age, networking is something they always need. Obviously, older people will have more experience in the workplace and things like that. And if they're willing to share those kinds of experiences and their knowledge with young people, that can be so helpful. And it's not necessarily a faith-based activity, but you are connecting different generations within your faith. If people can see that being Jewish, being Christian, being connected to their faith gives them opportunities, they might be more likely to show up to a faith-based event later. And the last thing is food. Everyone loves food. So food-based events are great. A lot of different faiths and cultures have such fantastic, diverse culture around their food. So events where you can come together and learn how to cook something, I think that's always a really great way to connect people.
I'm always up for that as well.
Yes. Right, I don't think anyone can complain about that one.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Brittany, for coming in. It's lovely to speak to you, and I know you've had to wait till the very end to speak, but great, and we look forward to Interfaith Week and everything that you have to offer as well.
Cool, thank you very much.
Cool, thank you.